Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Brad and I are doing our top 5 expansions of 2022. This is something that we've been doing for a few years now because expansions get a lot of love, and at least these 5 expansions for me are for games that I very much enjoy. Like, I usually have always held to the standard that expansions should always enhance the game, not fix anything, because that just means the base game was broken to begin with, and maybe that's a video game mindset where it's like day one patch. It's just like, no,
Right.
you already kind of messed up, so I hate you now. So yeah, like not. I don't know if there wasn't a whole bunch of expansions in 2022, or maybe I just didn't play a whole lot.
There wasn't a whole lot, really. I don't
Yeah,
think.
yeah,
But,
at least not for the games that I care about.
right.
But still got some really solid ones here. And I almost messaged you on a change. Like, I was like, man, maybe my number 5 might be this instead of what it is on here. But I think overall, obviously you didn't get that message, so I decided against it and kept my number 5 the way it is. We will have one expansion. We will have one crossover.
I'm thinking maybe 2 on
Oh,
mine.
interesting.
Maybe even 3, depending on if you have one that recently came out.
Okay,
We'll see.
interesting. All right. Well, I'm excited. Well, let's begin with my number 5, which is for a phenomenal game by Alexander Pfister. This was an expansion that, although I didn't really feel was actually needed, like this game already had quite a bit in it from the get-go, but I mean, the way he does his expansions, I think, are still extremely solid. So my number 5 is The
Yeah.
Uprising. I can't remember. Have you played Maracaibo?
Yes.
Okay.
And I've played
Good.
Maracaibo Uprising.
Oh, okay. Well, great. Well, here's maybe the second crossover. Yeah. So, my favorite types of expansions are modular expansions. I just think that, I mean, clearly that's just variety there, especially if the base game already has a lot to it. Having a modular expansion where you get to pick and choose, like what you want to add in is just great. It makes the base game less cloudy or muddy, where it's like, well, we just like, or you know, some expansions just overbloat it. And Maracaibo the Uprising was a smaller, I mean, not a small box, but like those thin box expansions. And I need to look up specifically like what he called them. I actually did go back through the rules just to get the titles, but I forgot what they were. But obviously, clearly, it adds the Uprising, where you could actually play a module where you can be for the Uprising or you could be against it, and that changes how battles are done. Because in Maracaibo, you can fight for kind of control. You play as mercenaries, where it's like you have no allegiance to any one, you know, nationality. It's just like, hey, whoever I feel like fighting for here, whoever I think is going to give me the best odds. And you can control some of those islands, and you can get a bunch of victory points at the end, depending on which faction controls the most. In the Uprising, there are the factions are already kind of controlling these islands, so you can actually go and liberate those areas, and it changes the way battle is done a little bit. It also changes the way endgame scoring is done for one of the modules, where there is no nationality scoring. It's all based on how well you do with fighting for the Uprising. So I thought that one was really cool. Another thing that it adds is asymmetrical powers. That's always amazing. Individual player powers is just, it's almost like a must. In games that shouldn't even have it, it just needs to have it in some way or another. One thing, well, if you're a solo player, so I'll be very curious to see if this is on your list, if you talk about it. It did add a new rival, Jacques. I have not played this solo to my I'm pretty sure I've not played this solo because that didn't ring a bell.
I
You
haven't
haven't.
played solo either.
Okay, okay. I need to give it a shot so I can put it on the channel. But so, unfortunately, I'm not familiar with the solo variant with Jacques in here. But for those of you that are interested, it does add more campaign elements. And that was something that Maracaibo brought that I thought was very intriguing, was a Euro game that actually utilized a campaign. That you had tile overlays that would lay over the board and change actions, and there was actually story elements. It expands upon that. So if you're wanting more story with Maracaibo, this is the expansion to get. So yeah, I mean, it just kind of enhances the overall game, doesn't drastically change anything, doesn't really bring in any left field modules, but the modules that it does add are really good, and individual player powers are awesome.
There you go.
That's my number 5.
Can't really say much more. That was a good
Cool.
coverage.
Cool,
Yep.
cool.
All right. My number 5 is one of the ones that it just recently came out. And I actually got it played, last weekend, I think,
Okay.
at a little game day. And I believe you have it, maybe, or at least you pre-ordered it. That is Wingspan Asia. So what?
I hate this expansion.
Yeah, well, and I'm gonna tell you because
sorry, I don't hate it. I should. That's definitely no exaggeration, but I'll let you go ahead and talk.
Well, no, I'm just it's on this list and it's at 5 mainly because I've really only going to use it for the new cards.
Okay.
Like, because the duet I could see getting played some, because of having the board in the middle and you're putting out the little duet counters and stuff. That I could see being good with like my wife and I playing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The flock mode, I haven't played it and it sounds horrible. I mean, in my mind, just having that many players playing this game and even it breaks into like teams and all that.
Yeah, you have like a whole the whole other side of the room playing like their own thing. It's like you have this weird layout. Yeah, the flock mode was like, stop.
Yeah.
Like,
so the duet I could see being played a little bit. The solo mode, I haven't tried it yet, but it comes with 90 more bird cards, which is always a bonus. I also like the idea that when they came out, and I don't think the other expansions did this because this is a standalone as well. I mean,
it is standalone
or an expansion, but it comes with another rule book that has all the stuff previous, so you can get rid of the rule book. That was a bonus. New bonus cards, new eggs. I mean,
eggs look cool. Yeah,
it's and this is the picture of the duet mode. So having that board in the middle and you're placing those little like teardrop looking things or feather looking. I don't know what they're supposed
to be. No, they were yin yang symbols.
Oh, okay, there you go. That makes sense.
But the stupid thing about those pieces is you expect them to like actually go together, like you are doing some weird, area control stuff, but you're not.
Yeah, so like I said, it's on here and it's at 5 just because I really enjoy Wingspan. It just added more cards and it added more of the bonus cards and stuff, which is always a thing. And then having this possibility of the duet mode for me and my wife to play, I put it on here for that. It has one of those additions, like in Orleans, you threw away the intrigue expansion board. The flock thing I'll never touch in this just because
Okay, so I do have a review for this expansion coming up. This video will be up before that. So here's my pre-review of this expansion, since we're talking about it. I see absolutely no fundamental reason why you would ever play duet mode. Like Wingspan at 2 was already perfectly fine. Like you didn't need the weird extra step of that area control board. And even if that was the case, where it's like, okay, now you have something extra to do instead of just play Wingspan at 2. My problem with this expansion as a whole is the only thing that everything works with are the cards. Like the scoring tiles you can't play unless you're playing duet mode. Well, that's pretty much it, actually. The birds all work, but like duet, so everything about this expansion seemed to have been like it wanted to be its own standalone thing. because it's like, okay, well, I bought this. I don't like duet mode. Definitely don't want to try flock mode. So I guess I paid, 45 euros, whatever that is, and 30, 40
I think I
bucks.
paid like $35 total.
Okay, you paid 35 bucks for 90 cards, kind of. At least that's how I felt. So I didn't think the duet mode was bad. I just felt that it was pointless.
Yeah,
So
and that's what I said. I mean, it's one of those things like the cards, and then having this as an extra way of playing it, I guess, would be
yeah,
something.
yeah, it's there. It's there.
But yeah, the flock thing is just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
Other than that, yeah, I really like the bird cards for it. I just really hope that that's not the route they're going for the other
yeah, I know.
continents. It's just like, look, just do. I thought the Europe one was great. It's just
Mhm.
like, hey, here's 600 more birds. It's like, oh, okay, awesome. But maybe that would just muddy it a little bit too much.
So anyway, that's
All
my
right.
number 5.
Cool. My number 4 was an expansion that was announced that I'm pretty sure blew everyone away, because there was no way anyone thought that there was ever going to be another expansion for this game. And when they announced it and they're like, it has a campaign, it's like, what could they do to give this game a campaign? And well, my number 4 is Cosmic Encounter Cosmic Odyssey.
Gotcha.
So, like I said, blew my mind and everyone else's when they said, "Hey, we're doing another expansion," and it's like, there's already 180 aliens, and they're like, "How's 30 more sound?" I never remember how many aliens there actually are.
Right.
But there's a lot, and this is also kind of a modular expansion. There is so much that they brought into this. Pretty much everything from all the previous like 6 expansions, they just added more. There's more technologies. There's more space stations. There's more planets. There's more aliens. There's more hazard events. There's just like all the variants that you could throw into a game of Cosmic Encounter, they just gave you more of. But they also fixed a few stuff in this expansion, which I thought was really cool. They balanced out some aliens. And so you can either, I mean, if you compare them and you're like, well, I like the OG power better, then obviously you don't have to swap them out. I did swap them all out because I'm like, surely they know how to balance more than I do, but you don't have to. Obviously, more of just everything is better. The hazard events, they updated, because in the original cards they had this little faint design around like the player color, and it was like impossible to see. It was so, if you were playing with that variant, you never knew when you were supposed to do it. Now they changed it to where they gave you cards that say hazard event, and you're supposed to replace the original. So when you do draw, oh, blue, it blatantly says hazard event. So if you're playing with that variant, you can throw that in. The aliens, the new aliens that they've added are insane. Like, I don't know how they do it. I have no idea how they keep coming up with unique ideas for aliens. And some of the advanced ones, I'm like, oh my God. Like, if anyone gets this, they're losing. Like, it's
Right.
not. This is a miserable power. Uh but yeah, so basically, if you don't even want to touch the campaign, I still recommend getting this expansion, because it's just more of, if you have everything for Cosmic Encounter, it's more of that. Even if you don't have anything for Cosmic Encounter, this is going to give you a little bit of everything. The campaign is okay. Like, it's what you would expect. Play, 5 games of Cosmic Encounter in a row. But they added, so that classic age card that's there, that's basically there's a bunch of age cards, and you shuffle them and you deal one out, and that's going to kind of tell you what draft you're doing and how certain things score and what variant you're adding. So it's a neat little thing. Like, you don't have to choose. It's kind of like, okay, classic age, where your draft is classic. You deal 2 aliens and you pick one, and then throw in technologies, and then that bottom thing is how you score. It's not the worst idea. I mean, I couldn't think of anything better unless they were going to add campaign and just really blow it out of proportion. But I really like the draft variant. One of my favorite ones that I've done is you deal 2 aliens to other players. I can't remember. Do you like this game? Have you played
I,
Cosmic Encounter?
I've never played Cosmic. It's one
Oh,
of those.
okay.
It's one of those holes in my games played.
Okay,
I'll
okay,
try
okay.
at some point. You know.
Gotcha. All right. Um, but in terms of drafting, I was just curious because I wasn't sure if you were sitting there seething because you hated this game or something. I couldn't remember if you had played it.
No, I don't hate
Uh,
it or anything.
yeah. But anyway, so one of the ages you can play is the draft variant is you pick 2, or you're dealt 2 aliens. You pick one to keep, and the other one gets discarded. But out of the aliens that were kept, they all get shuffled and randomly dealt out to players. So it's like when you're dealt 2 aliens, you could be like, this is a really good power. This is a really shitty power. Maybe I won't get the shitty one. And then, it gets randomly dealt out and someone else gets it, and you're like, suck it. That alien sucks. I like having those cards, so you can just throw those in even if you don't want to do the campaign. But yeah, I mean, this is a really good one, and I've enjoyed my time with it. Obviously they did add new variants to play with this, and I haven't tested them all out yet, but I mean, overall I love Cosmic Encounter, so more of that was always going to be a good thing. So that's my number 4, Cosmic Odyssey.
All right. My number 4 is a expansion to a classic evergreen game that would probably be higher on my list if I had played it more. But I knew it deserved a spot on this because it allows me to play this game cooperatively or solo in another way. And that is Viticulture World.
Interesting. This was considered for me. It was on the list of consideration.
Yeah, this one I like playing Viticulture. When you play Viticulture solo, it almost is like a beat your point kind of thing. I mean,
Okay.
it's kind of that way. Playing this though actually gives you a little bit more, um, more options and a more theme to it. The solo play, I think, because I haven't played it cooperatively. I've just done it, solo.
Okay.
But it pretty much is the same game for all intents and purposes, but they throw out that new board, and you need to do like you have to reach. I think it's 25 victory points. I think, and then that influence token needs to be at the end of the track and all that stuff. I guess here's kind of the board. So the board, I mean, it's same art and everything. It's just the board changes up a little bit. So it's for all intents and purposes, like I said, you're playing the same game. It's just you're going around. You can go to different places in the world, and it just makes it like if I'm going to play Viticulture solo now, this is how I'm going to play it over the
cool.
original solo mode. But it's just super smooth, I think. And I would like to play this with more than just myself, just to see how having everybody working together doing different stuff.
Yeah, I've played this at 2 and only at 2. It's weird. Like, it's a weird expansion because you're playing Viticulture, like you said, like you're playing like actual game. You're running your own vineyard, and another person is also doing that. So it's not like you guys share a vineyard and you're trying to work on one together. It's like you're 2 different vineyards, but also so in terms of, like you said, you have to get 25 points to win and the influence track has to hit 10. That's the same for everything. So but both players or all players have to have 25 points to win. And it's difficult. Like because you have to weirdly because you can share and you can trade between players, so there is that kind of interaction, but it's almost like a weird solitaire co-op game.
Right.
I don't know how to explain it. It was surprisingly good, although I don't know if I would want to play it all the time. That's kind of my I've weird mixed feelings about this.
Well, no, and viticulture. I mean, like I said, I play it solo. I enjoy it solo, but my preferred way of playing viticulture is the competitive.
Mm-hmm.
2, 3, 4 players.
Yeah.
That's my favorite way of playing it. But this one just kind of gives me that other option.
Yeah, the interesting part of this is the fact that you can like level up the board, like
Mhm.
you can upgrade it with those tokens. But yeah, it's tight. This is a very tight expansion.
Yep.
I do like the fact that you do have the different location decks, like the
Mhm.
different regions you go to, which kind of change up how your like what your objectives are.
Yeah.
It's smart. It's definitely well designed. Not sure anyone was ever asking for a co-op viticulture expansion, but he's like, all right, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
sure.
Yep.
Okay.
So, yep, that's my number 4.
Nice. All right, good choice. My number 3 is the one is the one that I thought was gonna be your is our crossover, so I would imagine it's higher on your list. This is an expansion that was a long time coming. Like as soon as the base game came out, people were already kind of really demanding and needed one, even though everyone thought the game was great on its own. You could tell that it needed a little bit more meat to it. So they did give us a small one, not as big of an expansion as I was hoping. So I'm hoping there's just going to be more to this. Although this one is a pretty good one. So my number 3 is Lost Ruins of Arnak, the Expedition Leaders. Basically, what this expansion gives you is individual player powers, which is, like we said, is always a fantastic thing, and it really does open up the whole of Lost Ruins, because whenever you were playing the base game, it was just kind of, to each their own. Like, everyone had the same thing. It was just how you were going to deck build and how you were going to utilize the cards in your deck to go explore Arnak and then go up on the research track. Here, they did add more tiles to discover and more animals, not animals, more monsters.
Yeah.
But the primary focus of this was that there were 5 or 6 like unique player powers. Like
Yeah. Gotcha.
like one guy has an extra worker. That's just his ability. He just has an extra worker. Another girl, she has like a hawk that she can send out to scout and gather resources. The guy on the left, I think
Okay.
he utilizes fear. I've seen him played. I have not personally played him. But if the way I saw him played was correct, then he sucks. I'm pretty sure he was just maybe not played, but he is the most difficult. They are ranked on a scale of like, easiest to hardest in terms of playing. But yeah, so that's just fantastic. Like the fact that they didn't just give you like a card that said like, oh, now you can do this. You actually play like a whole new character. It's like a whole new board that you're given is awesome. And I did like the fact that they also gave you characters that you kind of saw on like the cover of
Right.
the original. It's like, oh, hey, that's that guy.
I
It's
think
pretty.
this. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think along with those player powers, I think that one of the most important things they did with this was the alternate research track.
That's where I was gonna head to
Yeah.
next. Was because clearly it's called Expedition Leaders, so the player powers was the main focus. But that, yes, they did give another double-sided research track. So when you're playing this game, you now have 4 options of a research track, and all of them play radically different, because everyone for some reason is like, oh, Arnak is just going up on that track and that's how you win. I'm like, yeah, that's the theme.
Right.
Like, it's like that's not the only, like, yeah, if you're gonna not touch that track at all, then yeah, you're not gonna do well. I can make that argument for literally any other game. That's not entirely true, but for a lot of games, if you ignore a major aspect of it and you're trying to be like, well, I want to win this way, it's like, well, that's like a third of it. You're missing the other 2/3 of the whole game. So, I mean, to each their own. I got tired of comparing this to Dune Imperium. I don't give a shit. Like, just play the game you want to play. I'm sorry that I didn't do a bunch of crystal meth, and that's why I like Dune. So,
Yeah.
I'll enjoy my Indiana Jones the game.
Yep.
But yeah, so another research track. So that's always great. 4 options. I really hope CGE continues to support this. I think that there is a lot more that they could do to it. I still think, and it did give obviously more cards,
Right.
but I still think they can do a lot more with that with the card play. Like
I think so.
I think that the cards are still a bit more basic than what I'd like them to see. So only time will tell. But as of right now, at least you got this. And if you're wanting a little bit more meat to Lost Ruins of Arnak, this does bring it. So it's my number
Right.
3.
Awesome. My number 3 is our first crossover.
Is it Lost Ruins of Arnak, Expedition Leaders?
It is not.
Oh, then it would be Maracaibo.
Yeah.
Oh, then it would be Cosmic Encounter. You lied to me.
No, I put this on here just because I had a blast playing it, and I know I'm going to enjoy it when I do play it solo. I think having that other deal with the little campaign stuff added.
Oh, have you played the campaign?
No, I'm just saying, like,
Okay.
having the solo be able to have that as an
Oh,
option.
I see. Yeah.
But just playing this by itself, is it adds more, like you said, the modular stuff, is always awesome. The asymmetric powers,
Yeah.
always good. I mean, this is one of those I think this was my first Fister game I played. Can't remember. But
Okay, I was sitting there. I'm like, did you freeze?
no. I was trying to think,
Yeah.
but I really enjoy it, and all of his games kind of play similar to this with that whole rondelle or the race mechanic in a way, like Boone Lake and all that stuff does as
Boone
well.
Lake, Great Western Trail. I guess
Yeah.
really those 3. Blackout Hong Kong doesn't have a rondelle,
Right.
system, and I haven't played Port Royale, but I'm pretty sure it's a card game, so I don't
Right.
think
Yeah.
it has a rondelle either.
So yeah, I mean, this one's just a great game, and these kind of expansions are like you said when you were talking about it. These are the kind of expansions that I like with games because they have the modular stuff, so you can pick and choose what you want to throw in. So each time you play it, if you play with the expansion, it could be different. You may throw this one in this time, you may throw it all in one time. It just depends on, and then you can kind of customize it to your play group. For certain things that they enjoy more than others and everything. But there really isn't a whole lot more to say about it. I mean,
yeah, Maracaibo and Great Western Trail, like kind of like I don't know, like they're both so good. Like I think they're easily his best. I like both of them better than Boone Lake.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. My number 2. We'll see how your daughter made this, because I think I gave
She told me that your number 2 had an extra slide.
Perfect. Because I cheated because it's for the same game, but there are 2 expansions that were released for this game, and I like both of them. I do like one more than the other, so I could definitely talk about that, but I think they're both phenomenal, but they are not great for this game if you're playing them together, and I'll explain why. So my number 2 are the 2 expansions, 2A and 2B for... There we go. Yeah. Awesome. Viscounts of the West Kingdom, Gates of Gold, and Keeper of Keys. So, real quick, when we were playing this, I was like, you know what? We'll combine both so we can, do a review over both, me and a friend of mine. That game took like 3 hours, and my score was we could do whatever we wanted. We went wherever, and I was like, okay, yep, got that manuscript. Okay, got that guy. Like it was disgusting. So these expansions are great. Just don't play them together. I wonder if she got if she got.
Well, I'll flip to the next one and see what it looks like, because I think she's
cool.
like. Okay, yeah. So this is Gates of
Gold.
Gold.
Awesome. Oh, perfect. That's yeah, fantastic. Yeah, so Gates of Gold is my is actually the one I like the most in this expansion. So basically what it adds is King's Order and Outsider cards, new building bonus cards, manuscript boards, and obviously new townsfolk, heroes, and manuscript tiles. So basically the Gates of Gold just added a bunch of new content. And it basically added that manuscript board right there is somewhere where you actively collect the you've played Viscounts, right? Oh,
That's the one I haven't played yet.
okay. Oh no, that's right. That's right. I remember you
Yeah.
actually saying that. So the manuscript board, yeah, so like I said, you get a bunch of victory points if you actually start collecting sets. But whenever you are collecting them, you get like that one over on the left can go anywhere. So there's different types of manuscripts that you're trying to get. Those are kind of like technologies and stuff that give you like bonuses and benefits throughout the game and victory points at the end of the game. In this game, you're also building different buildings. So they have the specialized builder cards and diversified, where it's like, okay, if I build all of one type, that's going to get me the specialized one, or if I diversify, that's going to get me another one, which then in turn give you a special ability. Like the one that's showing up on top here is like every time that because you're corruption, you have like it's like corruption and divinity. I can't remember what the other side's called, but if they ever clash, then you get 2 coins in that. Because I think in all of them, in paladins and architects, you can take corruption cards,
Right.
and you can get those flipped for. It's like, oh, if it's unflipped, it's negative points. If it's flipped, it's like 1 point or something. So yeah, so with the King's Order cards, those can be done to like actually outright get rid of corruption, or it will allow you to fulfill a King's Order, which is another specialized way to get victory points. My entire build around that was just getting a bunch of those King's Order and cycling through my deck multiple times to modify like where my people were, because in Viscounts you have kind of like a track of your deck. So they go down like this path, and with the King's Order, it's like if that pops off like the very end, you get a special ability. So this one has a lot more going to it. The Gates of Gold. If you want more to Viscounts, then I would go with Gates of Gold as your expansion, because like I said, this shows that there's like a bunch more heroes, more townsfolk, the outsider cards, which are those like the new purple cards, that like that one is like, hey, you get a point and a point for every blue manuscript you have. So just really opens up the possibility of scoring and deck building and manuscript gathering. So it's very hard to kind of like sell this if you haven't played Viscounts, which I know we kind of talked to each other about various games. But this is a really, really solid one. What Shem Phillips did for all the expansions, like Paladins was always a super tight game. Like it's really efficient. And the expansion to that one, like kind of opened it up a little bit more. So it's not as tight, but still you have a bunch more options. And that's what Gates of Gold did. If there's another slide, I can talk about Keeper of Keys.
Is. Yeah.
Sweet.
There we go.
So yeah, so Keeper of Keys added chess tiles. And what's cool about this one, obviously, again, adds more townsfolk, so like neutral ones. Then the hero townsfolks are really cool because both of these expansions give you like a unique card in your deck, and then the starting townsfolk card change, so you have options and ways to get the chess tiles. But what's neat about the chess tiles is they actually go underneath your board, and whenever you have a certain type of townsfolk on your board, like I mentioned, there was that track, then you get a special ability. So it's like, for example, if you have that chess tile that's showing up at the top and you get a person with a cross that's placed on there, it's like, boom, you now get 3 goods. So, and then there's obviously ways to get those chest tiles, but once you have them, that's what you got. So we kind of specialize. This is like, you don't really have individual player powers, but it does specialize your overall
Right.
board. This also gave you cardboard player boards instead of paper, which was very, very nice. It was a nice upgrade. And it also adds 3 public building cards that people compete over. So it's like that one that's showing right there. It's like, if you get 6 hammers, then you can get this big one. This could be worth 15 points at the end of the game, but you get a curse or you get corruption, I think is what that
Right.
symbol is. So again, both these expansions are awesome. It depends on kind of what you're wanting. I don't think Keeper of Keys is kind of like a slight component upgrade, but it specializes on the cards a little bit more. So it's more like, okay, here's my individualness, like everything in front of me. And Gates of Gold is a lot more with the overall board and everything else in the game. I think they're both fantastic to have, but if I had to pick one, I would go with Gates of Gold. So
Sounds good.
So yeah, that's my number 2A and 2B.
Cheater.
I know. I couldn't just pick one. It's technically the same game.
Yeah. All right. So my number 2 was a long-awaited expansion for a game that was really popular when it came out, and then it would just, the expansion kind of waited forever, finally popped in, got everybody jazzed about it again. It's a theme that I adore. And that is Star Wars Outer Rim.
Nice.
Pretty much what this expansion does is this one just adds more of everything. It adds more characters, more ships, more gear, jobs, bounties, just everything. It's got more of all that stuff. The things that are new with this are they've added these there's 2 new tiles that let you cross the galaxy through these core worlds, like you can more or less warp from one, so
Okay.
you have that whole like semicircle map that you're on, but you can jump through the core worlds from one place to another. It also adds favors and ambitions, which change up how the game is played a little bit. And so, okay, this just shows the new characters and dice, but
hey, I recognize one of those guys from the horrible Boba Fett show.
Oh man, Cad Bane is awesome.
Yeah, I like a friend of mine, he was like talking him up, and whenever he showed up, I guess spoiler for that show, but I was like, who? I had no idea who he was.
Yeah, he was more in like the animated series is where he was.
I've heard he's really cool in there.
Yes, but anyway, so yeah, this just shows some of the characters and some of the extra dice, but more or less, I mean, this is one of those expansions, like if you play Outer Rim, it's kind of killed the Firefly game. It's a lot of you can do pick up and deliver. You can go on bounties and take people out. You can be a good person, bad person.
Okay.
And you win by having the most credits or money at the end and stuff, depending on how you choose to make it. The solo on this is really nice. They have a really, really good AI. You can play with multiple AI if you want. And you're just seeing who can have the most money at the end. I have been on the mission of replacing the putting actual little ships, which will be harder with this expansion. But like I bought some of the Star Wars Armada. They had these like this bounty hunter pack or whatever that had like a little Millennium Falcon and a little all that, and it has a little place to put a cardboard character. So like these character things slip right into it. So like I could
that's cool.
Solo behind the Millennium Falcon and move the Millennium Falcon around and stuff.
Neat.
A lot of these guys I don't even know if they make little ships for them for those, but yeah. But yeah, I mean, this one's just one of those that it got this game back to the table again, and it's a really solid game. I enjoyed it.
Was Outer Rim one of those games where it's like it just didn't have enough variety to play, so it needed an expansion to kind of give it more life, or?
I think it just needs something new. Like the players
Okay.
that like the people that liked it played the hell out of it, and yeah, then it needed. But I mean, if you were going to get it to the table once every now and again, there was enough in the core game
Oh,
for
okay.
sure. It was just like the more combinations you have with characters, the better. Because like if you can, since you can play with multiple AIs, if you do solo, if I may play Han solo, but then there's only a handful of people you can play against, this just adds more to that. And
Okay.
having more missions, more gear cards, because those stacks, there's a handful of cards, but once you've played it a few times, you've seen those cards. So
Gotcha.
if you this adds more of everything, so it just makes those
Which is
decks
good.
bigger.
Yeah.
Fantasy Flight actually put out a good expansion to a board game. Go figure.
That's true. Yeah. I mean,
The
they
only draw the only drawback is they didn't put the Mandalorian in it.
not
So
yet.
yeah, I don't know if they're gonna put out another expansion or what, but it was
Yeah, I
like
don't know.
this was like the perfect time to do it if you were gonna just do one more expansion because
Yeah, well, isn't
he
season
is a bounty
three
hunter.
supposed to still be coming out for
Oh yeah,
Mandalorian?
it's coming out in
Well,
February.
sorry, season 3, part 2, because the Book of Boba Fett was very much like season Mandalorian season 3 halfway
Yeah,
through.
pretty much.
Um, so I don't know, like Fantasy Flight, yeah, it used to be like all about expansions, and they do that for their card games, like that we know.
Right.
All right, my number 1 expansion should come as no surprise. I'm wondering, do you have any guess? Probably not, because it's expansion.
I mean, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for
Okay.
it.
So my number 1 was an expansion for a very beloved game. That a game that you're not too fond of anyway, so I'm actually not surprised you probably wouldn't have even thought of this. But it added 2 new factions to a very wonderful war game called
Oh yeah.
Root. The Marauder expansion, which, based off my conversations with Patrick at Gen Con, I think he said that there's gonna be 2 more expansions to this, and then they're done. And hopefully at that point there will be a storage solution for it, which would be amazing. Yeah, no, this was obviously my number 1. These two factions are amazing. They play again so radically different. I like Cole as the designer for Root does such a great job of making sure that every faction feels asymmetric and plays, completely different from one another, even after this is the 3rd expansion, because I think the first one was Riverfolk, second one was, oh, I don't remember what the second one was called. I know what it added, but Root, let's see. It was the Underworld expansion, and then this one. So this one adds the 2 factions, the Lord of the Hundreds and Keepers in Iron. So the description for the Keepers in Iron is lead your exiled order of devout knights into battle to recover ancient relics. So in that you include these. Oh, they're perfect. Yeah, you include relics. There are 3 different types of relics. I'm not going to go into significant detail on these expansions. I have a review over this if you want to go check that out. However, the Keepers in Iron, yeah, they're going to get relics, and they have various locations that they can turn in these relics for big points. But what makes it very interesting is people can fight them for those relics and get victory points for defeating them, but they get tougher if they're holding relics. Which is very intriguing because it's more of like, hey, I got this relic, and now they become a target, and so it's because you obviously don't want them to go turn it in, because those relics, there's 4 of each different type, and they have a victory points on the bottom. It's like, well, they can go turn that in for like, I think it goes up to 4 points, which is a lot because it's a race to 30 points, and it's like, might have to go fight you to get you to drop that, and I can take it and move it somewhere else. But you're tougher, so you're harder to actually defeat while you have it. They're a very difficult faction, I think, to do, not to do well, but to play them well is kind of how I think every faction is equally balanced. And but yeah, it depends on play style. So the Keepers in Iron, I think, are really cool. I love their theme. And then the Lord of the Hundreds is probably the most aggressive faction that I think has been added. They have a bunch of different meeples and can swarm the board. Like they just like kind of as Lord of Hundreds, just kind of tank across the battlefield. But what's interesting about them is their leader is like bipolar or has like multiple personality because his mood changes, and as his mood changes, that's gonna give you a special like restriction on what you can and can't do. And eventually the mood card gets discarded, and the card that you discard has an action that it's like, oh well, I can't do that right now. So it's very intriguing on how they do. They're extremely powerful, but depending on how you're going to play their leader's mood card, which is the little piece with the flag, that's your leader. It's going to kind of dictate how they're played. But other than that, yeah, they can go in like level areas. They can raise it to just like wipe everything in that zone. So they're super fun to play. Between these two, the Lord of the Hundreds is my favorite. But man, like if anyone were to be able to compete and fight with them, I feel like they would have a hard time. So yeah, like this one was a no-brainer of my favorite expansion of the year. If they release a root expansion each year, 2023 expansion, it'll probably be my favorite. And then 2024 root will probably be my favorite. I just love this game. So yeah, that's my number one expansion of 2022.
All right. Well, you probably know my number one.
I thought your number one, when you said Outer Rim, that made, oh no, I know what it is. Okay, it's a crossover.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I would imagine it is Lost Ruins of Arnak.
You're correct.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean this one, Lost Ruins, was one of those games when it popped out a year or two ago. It shot up my lists as one of my favorites. You know, it was a blast how all the mechanics went together. It was beautiful on the table. Just the gameplay was seamless. And then they added this, which the asymmetric powers, the research track, the more monsters, the more cards, I mean, this goes along the lines of one of those that we had talked about, you know, one of those perfect expansion type things. You know, it adds more. And just kind of like with the Outer Rim one that I talked about last time, you know, it's that it doesn't fix things, you know, it just adds more stuff, more of what's already there and made it successful. And then having the extra research track is smart because then it changes, you know, you can have different things to do with that. I like how they, you know, in this company, you know, they've done cool support, just online support with the solo stuff as well.
Yeah.
But
I forgot about that.
think, yeah, they have that. So I think they're putting the time in on this. So I would expect, and this has been a pretty popular expansion as well, I would expect there's going to be more coming. But yeah, I mean, having those asymmetric players is just nice because then you kind of have a starting point on a lot of them, a direction, I guess. And yeah, I mean, this is one of those deals because the two that designed this game, I think this was their first one, I believe, game. And they just, I mean, I don't know, they're just knocking it out of the park with this stuff. And CGE at this point would be dumb not to keep trying to add more to it, you know. Just they have a lot of good games, but I think this is probably one of their most popular right now, like as far as the hottest over the last couple of years.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because God knows Deal with the Devil is not on anyone's favorite game of the year. If I had played that based off what I heard, that probably would have made my worst. Really? But I never got around to playing it.
Yeah, and you know, and have you played Dune Imperium?
I have, yeah.
Okay. See, I played it too, and it was fine, but it was just kind of like part of this, the theme of this is better, and I just like it's colorful and it's more. It just seems to be more. Dune seemed more fiddly to me than this.
Yeah, Dune had a lot of, I felt, like random restriction. Like there were times where it's like it was so tight until it wasn't. It's just like, well, I just need one fucking water. And oh wow, I'm last on turn order. Okay, I guess and you took the ones. Okay, that's neat. Yeah, I'll eventually get water. And then eventually halfway through the game, after you've struggled, you finally have all the resources. But it's yeah. I have issues with Dune. I don't think it's like a horrible game, but when people compare these two, I'm like, Dune is frustrating.
Yeah.
Like this one, I think it's elegant. I really like this one a lot more. But to each their own. Again, whatever people want to play.
This one just looks so much nicer too.
That is also true. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, that is my number one.
Awesome. Well, that's it, everyone. Those are our top 5 expansions of 2022. I hope you enjoyed. Let us know what you think of these expansions and what your favorite expansions of the year are in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.